Oh, wait, maybe. In, out, in, out. We can test it with our little mic. What's up? Okay. So me and Jovianne are testing out some of our podcast settings. But doing it live and here with you. Oh, yeah. So this is... Oh, yeah, that's part of our settings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is Jovianne. This is my youngest daughter. Right, Jovianne?
Mm-hmm.
And we're testing out because we've been working on our podcast. Or my podcast, I should say. I've been working on a podcast, and she would like to be a guest. So that's what we're doing. But tonight we thought we would talk about, while we're messing with our settings. What are we talking about?
Fear and procrastination.
That's right. There you go. I've had a long day. I've been out pimping my goods. What is this saying?
Slow
Tap.
connection.
Yeah, slow connection. Oh man, and it said to tap to invite people. I don't know how to tap to invite people. How do you tap to invite people? And we got our little mic. Look at our cutesy little mic. It's so fun. Okay, so how do we invite people?
Is it open to the public?
Yeah, but oh no, it's a private group. But you can invite people in the group. Does anybody know how to invite people in the group to a live video?
You would have to... the share button on the side.
Oh shit, look at that. This one?
The,
Or that one?
That one.
Oh look, we can invite Jody. We could invite her. I don't know if she'll come on. She was going to bed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh look, I know people we can invite. They might be going to bed, so we'll see. Who else should we invite, Joanne? You see names?
Melanie Martinez.
Melanie Martinez. There you go. Why not? That could be fun. It won't let me pull up anymore. That's kind of weird. Well, anyway. I don't know how to do that, but if you're here with us while I knock stuff off, say what's up. Again, this is Jovianne. You see me all the time, and you see her in my videos, but this is Jovianne live. So anyways, we decided to talk about fear and procrastination today because I don't necessarily deal with fear a lot, but I definitely deal with procrastination because I do 100 things. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what about you? Do you deal with fear or procrastination?
Very much so.
Which one?
Both at the same time.
In what way? I gotta take off some of my stuff. I'm coming in while you talk.
It's kind of on a personal, level. Like, talking to people, I procrastinate about it, or I get scared to talk to people. And so I'm stuck in my own head, like, should I say something or should I not? That's partly it.
So you'll procrastinate in interactions with people?
Yes.
Because of fear?
Yes. Not so much you guys, but, people I meet, or, even my friends or whatever, they'll be talking and I'm like, oh, blah, 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 and I get nervous sometimes to talk.
Into the mic?
Yeah.
Can you hear us? Can you hear what we're saying? The words are so tiny. We need a big screen. Because we're doing this live. Ah, shit, there's that slow connection again. We're doing it live. That's why the screen's really little too, so next time it won't necessarily be on such a small screen. But we're just having fun playing, setting it up. Oh, and see our goods. I went out today. Pimped my goods. And that's what brought on this topic, this conversation, because
I thought it was going to fall.
me too. I was like, oh shit, oil's going to fall. I went out today to go to some of the local stores and some of the vendors that I know and go show them my new product line. And I wasn't really afraid to do that. I was maybe a little bit, but not really, because I've kind of done that for a really long time. For me, more it was procrastination, and I can find 100 things to put in place of doing the thing I really want to do to move me to the next step. I can kind of sometimes procrastinate and do the same things that I do daily, like my daily stuff, versus going out on a new venture, or going out on a new hobby or a new interest or whatever. I'll procrastinate, like even learning a new skill. Uh, but I was talking with Travis and we were talking about it, and he thought it was kind of neat the way that I would just jump out there and do stuff. And he said that, not everybody feels that way. Sometimes people are afraid. So then talking with Jovienne, she mentioned her fear of it. And so it doesn't, I don't think, necessarily have to be with just business, right? It can be hugely in life.
Yeah. And it can be mentally or even things like put outwards, I feel. Because it could even be painting a new picture and you're procrastinating on what to put next. Or it could be certain things in life other than mentally where you're procrastinating to voice things.
Apps, or stand up for yourself, or make a new decision, or put it in a commitment towards something. So,
And
yeah.
But at the same time, it could be the same thing because you're thinking it inside your brain. You're procrastinating inside yourself.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think is the best thing that helps you move past procrastination? Do you have a set way of moving past that, or are you still forming your ways, or do you have something you go to and you're like, man, I'm totally fucking like dropping the ball on this with myself. I gotta find something.
I think a big part, like I'm still figuring things out, like how to come out of my shell, but I think a big part of it is like kind of just thinking like, what's the worst that could happen? And two, you never know until you try. So you could be painting a picture and then be like, damn, I'm kind of worried about doing this, and you never know until you try, Right. So that's something I do with myself. So it could be you never know until you try. You never know what that person thinks until you ask. It could be thousands of things. And that's what helps push me, because it's like, I'm curious to know. That's why I'm procrastinating, because I want to know, but I'm like, I don't know if I should ask. I'm feeling a little weird.
All right.
But then if I'm just like, well, you never know until you do it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers your...
No, it totally does, because that's exactly that's what I told Travis today when, he was giving me a compliment, telling me I felt complimented. I mean, after the fact, at the time it was kind of like, really? And then I was like, well, yeah, I see what you're saying. So I felt complimented by it. But I felt like that's exactly what I told him. I was like, well, I figure, like, what do I have to lose, Like, if this is something I really want to do, and the thing that's slowing me up is being afraid, it's like, well, that's all in my head is how I feel. So I literally just have to change my mind. I have to change how I feel about it, and the only way to change how I feel about it is to go through the process of why I want to do what I'm doing. And then it's like, well, then what do you have to lose? You might as well just go for it. Yeah,
that's what pushes me as well, is because is the outcome going to change your decision right now? Because what if this or what if that? Is that going to change how you feel? It's like, either, like with the person, if you're asking them out, either if they say yes or no, how is that going to change your decision right now?
Right, yeah, exactly.
So
you could even relate that, even like you're exactly saying, because you being a young person. And having these times in your life right now of talking to people, you're exactly right. And I mean, I don't know if you even want to share that experience, but I mean, you've recently had your own experience, right?
Because I was gonna ask my friend to be my Valentine, and I was so nervous because I was like, what if he says no, and then this or that? And I was like, I'm so nervous because if he says no, or is kind of off-put by it, then what's going to be the outcome of that? And I was like, why is that letting direct right now? I'm curious to know. And I'm having the future that may never ever happen, which it didn't. Why is that going to steer me?
Which is not even scripted yet.
Yeah, why is that going to steer me away?
Right.
And to inflict the way I ask, instead of being like, hey, you want to be my Valentine? It'd be like, well...
Impacting your decision you make now based on what his decision might be after the fact.
And two, that's where the procrastination comes in, because then I'm like, oh my god, there's 1,000 things going through my brain. Like, he could say no, he could be like, you're weird, bye.
Right.
Oh, I'm just friends, anything. But
I was just your gamer friend. I don't want to be your boyfriend.
Yeah, and so then I was like, well, I never know, and I want to ask him, and I know for a fact he doesn't have one. We've already talked about it and things like that. I was like,
yeah,
why not shoot my shot? So I was just like, I even made it funny. I was like, so, it's past 12, it's Valentine's Day, blah, blah, blah. Right. Asked him out, and it worked.
Right, yeah, he was excited. He was like, yay.
Yep.
And so to add to that, Man, that look, it's telling us we got a slow connection again. That's gonna suck if we miss this conversation because this is great. To add to that, we introduced Joey, but we got distracted with our little bougie, funny little microphone here. This is hilarious.
You might have to hold it up here since it's a closer microphone. I can even hold it.
So since we have this microphone, no.
ASMR.
Yeah, right. I could probably hook it on my foot since I'm sitting here.
You'd just be like, all right, your turn.
So it's okay. Well, we got distracted on our introduction here. That this is Jovianne. Yes, we told you, and she is my youngest daughter of 5 kids. I have 5 children, which probably some of you know and some of you don't. But 3 of them happen to be females, and she is the youngest one. And Jovianne is 17, or almost 17. Woo! I almost messed that one up. You're actually 16. She will be 17 this year. So, and soon, like a few months.
Yeah.
And so this is, she's in the prime time of her life of jumping those fear hurdles. And what would you say the procrastination one is? Probably like haven't decided to commit yet.
Yeah.
Is what causes us to procrastinate. And then once we commit, it's like that fear kind of, at least for me, I feel like that fear just kind of falls off when I finally decide what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And the reasoning behind it, when I'm clear, like you said, when I'm like, hey, the only thing stopping me is the possible outcome.
Yeah.
And that's out of my control. All I can do is choose for me.
I
wonder how much that's wiggling. But, having all this. So, yeah, I mean, once you commit, it kind of falls away a little bit. But, yeah, I think it kind of is a total circle thing and a great topic, especially for today and especially for us right now with all the new things we're doing and our business ventures we're on and our new products. And, but, yeah, I think it's pretty fun that she's 17 and on this new venture and brave enough to do it. What's something else that you felt like you had fear before that you had to conquer when it came to it, or you just kept procrastinating?
I would think, because I feel not to be like, toot my own horn, but I feel like I can go through things fairly well and kind of contemplate with myself, like what's holding me up.
Right.
But I think mostly just coming out of my shell in general with my own likings, with finding my own way of personality, and like for surface level-ish type things like clothing wise, where I was like, no, I need to show that I love this or need to show that I love that. And I've very much feared the fact that I wouldn't be feminine enough or this or that, and so it held me back for a good time. And it could be
on wearing your own identity or expressing yourself through your clothing.
Yeah. And procrastinating about myself.
Right.
And I still struggle with that. And it's definitely like up and down some days, but I feel like a big part is just myself in general.
Because you felt like you had, because you're female, there's a level of wanting to be feminine or even a level of imposed, like you're supposed to be more feminine, so you're not quite sure what that is. That what you mean? Like the fear of not being feminine if you embrace how and what you are. Yeah, I think that's pretty a pretty normal thing for people too. But I think a lot of us struggle with it for a really long time. Sometimes our entire lives. I know I did. I struggled with my own identity in that way. A lot, and I think that. It's just like you're saying, that same fear, like, it caused me to procrastinate in so many things because I was afraid it wasn't feminine enough, or it was too masculine, or it wouldn't fit into, the prescribed whatever role I was supposed to be based on the lifestyle choices I had, or...
Yeah, and I can see how it can lead into my social interactions where I'm like, I'm afraid to talk, because what if it's too tomboyish or to myself? I'm afraid to talk sometimes because I'm like, I should be more feminine. I shouldn't say dude or bro.
Right.
And so it feeds into it, but then I think about it, I'm like, this is just me. This is, this is how I talk. And if people are like, well,
yeah.
So I feel like that's a big part, and it can lead into so many different things: my clothing, how I talk, this, that. But I don't think it's
The activities you participate in.
yeah, very much so. That as well.
So it's super life hindering when you get. I feel like you get stuck in that fear thing. It's hindering, which is procrastination. You know, you're stuck.
Yeah, or like for instance, like hobbies as in like video games for me. When people are hindering my experience and then they find out I'm a female, they're like, oh, it's because you're a female. So I start procrastinating, like, I need to do good, I need to do this, I need to do that. I can't, that kind of stuff, and it really holds me back. Because then I'm like, I know what to do. I know I'm good at the game, but other people's...
Oh, wow, I never thought about it like that, like, because of the pressure on you, or the imposed, like, society impressions of, oh, you're a girl, or oh, you're a guy, or not saying everybody's that way, but I mean, we've lived under that for a long time.
Yeah.
With men and women. I never thought of it like that, like the fact that there's that imposed pressure, how it can cause you that procrastination in progressing and you're leveling up in your game, because now you're being held back by that mindset to perform or whatever it is, judgment of it, or the... what's the word we're looking for? Like the evaluation of it because you're a female.
Yeah.
Now that's like hindered you and made you like kind of procrastinate.
And it's a continuous loop, because this will happen and then I'm procrastinating, like then I shouldn't do this because of that. And then it's continuous fear.
We got the red light. Oh no, we got the red light. No connection. Oh, we must be back on. Sort of. Oh my gosh. What time is it? I know it's gotta be getting later, especially because my eyeballs be getting heavy. You know how I be. Turn into a pumpkin at about 8:30, 9 o'clock. No, not really. Somewhere in there, and then it's just like hanging on to the vine the rest of the night. Mm-hmm. But yeah, today's been an interesting day, a busy, interesting day, but good. And then we wanted to do this because we've been talking about it forever, and we had been procrastinating. We've literally, like 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah.
No, wait, when were we talking about having these conversations together? Since Pleasanton?
Yeah. So it was probably like 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah.
Coming up.
Because we were in Pleasanton 4 years ago? 3 years ago?
Almost.
Yeah, this is our 3-year anniversary at the end of the month. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. I mean, we've been talking about doing this together for a really long time. Mm-hmm. And so, we'd been procrastinating. And so today, even though I was tired, and I wanted to find all kinds of fucking reasons why I needed to not do this, I just jumped in there.
And I was like, Mom,
I know.
Gonna do it? Mom, are we gonna do it?
I know, and I have to credit Jovianne for being my prompter, because I literally was like, I'm tired. I had a busy day, and my, what was it I used to joke about? That was a lot of commitment for my uncommitted life outside of here, It kind of wears me out. I get a little like, whoa! Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and then Jovianne's like, hey, Mom, hey, Mom, hey, Mom. And she's been my, motivator for years. I keep coming back to, that'd be really fun with Jovianne. So I'm glad you decided to keep pushing me. Because I think now that we're just finally just like, let's just do it. Let's sit down and do it. That we can do it easier. Mm-hmm. It's just making all the little things happen that you got to line up to make happen every time. Like for everything, it's procrastination. Because you're like, oh, I got to go get that thing. Yeah. And sometimes I find myself procrastinating on little things like, you got to take that container into the main cabin. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it when I go next time, okay? And it's like, why don't you just take that thing and go put it away? And I think it's just, there's no fear in it. It's just more like lazy. Mm-hmm. Lazy procrastination. Mm-hmm. Like, I already went up to the cabin 8 times. I don't want to carry something else.
I have that a lot, too, during my day. Or even, waking up could be one. Subconsciously. Subconsciously, I'm like, I should get up, but I'm like, I don't want to get up though.
Hey, that's pretty great for you to admit that you procrastinate on waking up sometimes.
And subconsciously too, because procrastinating to wake up, then I wake up at a later time. So then I'm not getting to things that should be in an earlier time. So I end up doing it the next day, and then the next day, and then the next day. So it's just procrastinating over and over and over. And I'm like, I'm getting to the point where I'm like, okay, I need to like reboot. Because there's just so much subconsciously, consciously of it where I'm like, I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll do it. I've had that. I've had stuff that for like decades, you have that box of something and you're like, okay, just not today. Another day. And before you know it, you're like, that was like 10 years ago. You're going to do that thing. No, not really. It's not that bad now, but there were times in the past, and I think in the past, a lot of that procrastination was due more to overwhelm of responsibility.
Yeah.
Like, we just had so much going on in our life, and I feel for people that have more going on in their life than we did, because, geez, I don't know that I could keep up with that.
And imagine how much life you're missing as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And it doesn't have to be like every second of every day I need to be so focused on this thing. But it's just like the conversations we have, you know, petting the cats, things like that. Yeah. Even if subconsciously or consciously, you're missing so much of your day. You
are, especially when you're just so, like, I gotta get to the next thing. I gotta get to. It's like, you're missing and you procrastinate. So, you're right. It's fear and procrastination. And then it's like, why do people get so overwhelmed? Why are people even doing the amount of stuff they're doing? I think it kind of comes back to fear. I think it comes back to fear of, I'm afraid I'm not going to have.
Or what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Or what are people going to think.
Yep. Like, what if I don't have enough money for those clothes? Or what if I don't have enough time to go on that thing? Or not time. Like, people don't really seem to worry about their time. Because that's why they're like farming it out on everything. They want more time, but they're not really organizing time really well, because that's how we get overwhelmed. But I think you're right, or I think that's right, that it kind of comes back to fear, on afraid of the future, of not having something, not being something, going without something. What if I don't? And we're living under such a society of, we got to be wealthy. We got to be rich. You got to have all the stuff. You need to have everything. You need to do everything. There's so much of that going on, it seems like.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's pushing people, like, well, I got to have that. And it's like, you really don't got to have it. I mean.
Yeah.
And even if you think you got to have it, a lot of it, well, I mean, once you have it, you kind of don't care. I mean, look at all the stuff that we used to have. Like, 4,000 square foot full of just shit, tons of stuff. And now it's like, I bet you couldn't name 20 things that we used to have that you're like, oh, I wish so bad I had that. It's like, not really.
There's appreciation to it. Like, I appreciated the time I had with it, but nowadays I don't need it. And half the time I didn't even use it.
Yeah.
Or acknowledge it, or things like that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I totally agree. And so I think that it just, I mean, we're kind of just overwhelmed with stuff based on fear of not having stuff, and I think it just kind of screws with us, and it causes us that fear, and so then we procrastinate and hugely on our own dreams and our own wants and desires and our own personal intimate experiences. So commercialized and like surfaced.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of boring, so then everybody procrastinates on doing a lot of things to some degree, you know?
Yeah.
Because you hear people, like, all the time talk about the things they wish they could do. Oh, I wish I could do that, or I want to do that, or, you know, I wish I could learn how to. And it's like, well, we all can. So, yeah, that procrastination, man. Not just on little stuff, it's big. It goes so big.
And it's always, if you really look at it from an outside view, it's always connected to everything.
Yeah.
And nothing at the same time. Why are you holding on to it if it's nothing? But it's always connected to yourself.
Yeah.
And it's something that can, like you said, hold you back from life, and something that can such inflict you.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's such a circle. It's all so connected. It's literally all so connected. It's kind of like, you know, I've heard that saying throughout my life, and I've even repeated it and told people and told you guys, kind of like, You know, the way you do one thing is pretty much how you kind of do everything.
Uh-huh.
So if you are somebody that lives so in fear of so much, you're gonna just be told what to do and gonna do it so like everybody else because everybody's being told what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it's so personal because then it directs and it's the ship driver of your entire life. You know, I mean, it's so, yeah, jumping that hurdle. And I think like the best way for me is finding my reason, the reason why I'm doing whatever the fuck I'm doing. And that gives me a way to jump out of the procrastination and conquer my fear. So yeah, I mean, would you say that's for you too? Like if, like you said, if your reason, and is that the same thing like the motivator to get you to do things sometimes too?
Yeah, because it's like what I've mentioned before, like asking my friend out to be Valentine or whatever. It's the same way as we've talked about before. Like I have fear that I'm not enough, or I have fear of this, so I procrastinate when I'm talking to people.
Right.
And so it inflicts my own behavior or my own way. Like I don't like doing it like this, but I have fear that if I do it a different way or how I want to do it and express myself, I won't be enough, or people will leave, or people will this or that, you know?
Right.
So I procrastinate and fear a lot, and that's why I said it goes up and down, you know, but I can center with myself, and that's why I find these talks so beneficial, because it can help me almost unwind.
I was gonna ask you if you felt that way. I was literally thinking that while you were talking. Like, do you think talking to people and discussing how you feel helps?
Yeah.
Like sharing with us and the girls and whatnot.
Yes, definitely. And I feel like it's not like I'm not open to judgment or whatever, but I feel like our circle and the people I want to affiliate with are people who obviously care about me. So it's so beneficial for me because I know you care for me, and it's not just some surface level talk or this or that. It's something I'm like, no, I'm really struggling with this, and you being my mom, and it's like you're like the closest person I've ever been with. Right. So it's like, oh, right. You know, I'm talking to you, and right. I know you know.
Yeah. But, well, and that relatability of knowing other people have the same things, even if it's in a different area.
Yeah. But yeah, I find, because I've mentioned before that I find journaling a struggle for me, and I almost fear it and procrastinate journaling. That's why I say it's so all connected. Yeah. I procrastinate because I'm like, I feel uncomfortable writing it down and like
you're supposed to do it a certain way. Yeah. So you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna do it right.
Yeah. Or... And two, I've mentioned again 1,000 times how when I talk, I feel like it comes out differently than how I mean it. Right. I can't form the right words, and writing it down is the same exact way. You look at my journal, there's just scribble marks. I'm like, no, I didn't mean it like that. But talking with you guys, it really helps me, and I can almost fluidly talk about it and be like, no, right.
Right.
But
yeah, I truly believe that community, I call it, having your own church. Mm-hmm. Because we all know what church is. Some people have no clue what community is. They're like, I don't want to go to the community pool. It's like, me neither, bitch. So, It's like, that I get. It's like, if we're talking that kind of community, nah, I'm out on that. Mm-hmm. But if you're talking, like, everybody knows what church is. It's a place to go, like, find yourself. And it's the place to feel good and be supported. And now, I'm not saying that's what most churches are, or any church, or all churches. I'm not... That but we know what church is, so I refer to it as you got to kind of have a church. You got to have your own church. You got to have your own circle of people that you can talk and communicate with and have these conversations with. Otherwise, you kind of just close in because you're like, I'm afraid, and you just, and you feel like you're the only one. Like, I must be the only one that's afraid of this or that. And it's like, well, maybe that thing is not something that somebody around you is afraid of or has a fear of, but they're going to have something similar. Mm-hmm. They're going to have something else in their life that has the same kind of fear level to them or understanding of it or have had. And that's why even like talking to Travis today, I was like, oh shit. I remember when in my younger years of being an entrepreneur, an artist, or whatever, even when we were doing heating and cooling and whatnot, that going and putting yourself out there was kind of like, ooh, what if they say no, And I was like, well, they say no, and so I remember that, though, him saying that, and I kind of forgot that fear in that area, and now it's just procrastination, because it's like, but I really like it here on the mountain. Yeah. So it's like, you mean I gotta load all my shit up, and I gotta go to town, and I gotta go, So you know me, and you know that to be true. Like, oh, you're just not wanting to leave, and it's like, no. And it's like, yeah, but you're the one this is your thing. You have to go do it. So, talking to him and him reminding me, because that's something that would be uncomfortable for him. Mm-hmm. He was like, that's just not. I can do all sorts of stuff, have all these talents, and he does, and he knows it, and I can tell him that, but he's just like, that's just not a comfort thing for me, and it's like, oh, wow, I remember that. So, even though I don't deal with it now, it makes it like understandable and relatable to you then, when you're like, I have my own fears about some of this stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that you're, finding that reason and having people to talk to that can help you find that reason is good too, because, if you're sitting here like, man, I'm so afraid, they're like, oh, hey, come on. And they can reason with you, like literally reason with you.
Yeah. And
without reason, sometimes we were just like walking around in the dark. It's like, what the hell is going on here, And so, yeah, I think it's really good to be able to have the conversations and talk, and why this is important, having the conversation counter, and being able to have these conversations that not everybody has, that maybe it can help other people have them as well.
Yeah.
And so sharing our own fears and our own procrastinations, on whatever level they are, we can, kind of walk through it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, well, that's funny. Some of the stuff that we're like, man, I just, oh my God. Yeah. But yeah.
And it's so crazy too, the different experiences people have, and then afterwards, like so many people like me with the Valentine's Day stuff, that might not be something that other people would be scared of, but other people are scared of their clothing. Like, well, I'm procrastinating about this. When with me, I'm like, and it's just the difference of people, the way they're living, and then now looking back on Valentine's Day, the
circles they interact in.
Yeah, and now looking back to Valentine's Day, I'm like, it's crazy. I was even scared, to be honest.
Right?
Like, I get it, but at the same time, it's like, I trusted my gut deep down. I knew that he would probably say yes, because we are so close, and just so many different things. And so it's just crazy how now it's like what you've told me, conversations we've had before, like, if you think about it, a week later, you wouldn't even be scared about it right now. A week later, you wouldn't even be thinking about it. No. It just wouldn't cross your mind.
And it's funny you say that, because Travis mentioned that when I was talking to him today. He said, isn't it crazy how you can feel so strongly about something? Mm-hmm. Like, so angry, so excited, so passionate, so rageful, whatever the feeling you can have. And then, like, a week later, or a month later, or whenever, you're just like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, what? He's like, you can want something so bad, like, oh, I gotta have that car so bad, or I gotta have that thing so bad, and then you're like obsessed, you're like laser focused in, and then you can just literally like, and it's like, what the, and it's like, what happens there? It's like, I feel like only thing that happens is our mind changes. And it's like, oh, wow, that's crazy. Like, nothing else monumental happened, just we changed our mind around our fear.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's completely different on something, or not necessarily always fear, but in this case, what we're talking about, but excitement, anxiety, or whatever. It's just like something switches, and we're like, oh, and we can just be totally changed about it because of whatever reason. So, yeah, it's crazy that you mentioned that, because he literally said that today. Like, isn't that crazy how it just no time later you're like, yeah, whatever, I don't care.
Yeah, and two, you can always apply that to the situation at hand. So that's why, that's almost in the same vein what I kind of do with myself. It's like, in a week, how are you going to feel? In a month, how are you going to feel? Yeah. Not to put myself so deep in the future I lose it,
No.
But just to think that's
like
when
the
it
way I
comes-
call the time piercing or the
Yeah.
projecting or
Yeah, and that's where it comes back to what does the future matter? It's right now in the present. What is the present for you?
yeah, and if you're gonna get any bit of the future of what you want, you have to be willing to jump into the right now.
Yeah.
Like you literally are the director of the ship. You're the one calling all the shots. So
And it's like, are you gonna let, like I've said before, are you gonna let the future control how you want to feel now, and or decisions that are happening right now that could spur it off to something else?
right,
So
yeah, because if you just sit there in your fear of procrastination, it's like, well, you know where that goes. Probably not gonna get much of what you want.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's crazy, and so for me, it comes back to it's a personal commitment of owning our fear
Mm-hmm.
on whatever level, and only we can do that. Like individually, us, as I refer all the time, the one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're the one. We're the only one that can conquer that fear and jump that hurdle and
Mm-hmm.
quit fucking procrastinating.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. And
Okay, you gotta hold the mic. I need a drink.
Okay. And to add to what you were talking about earlier, with the talking about it is so important because it's just like voicing your feelings in a different way. Like if someone is bothering you, writing it down helps. That's why journaling is so beneficial. It takes that little weight off to where you can process it.
Right, like talking to a friend, but not having to go and talk to a friend and spill your guts or
Yeah.
whatever. You can.
And it can be in different ways, you know, and it's almost like coping or whatever as coping is, you know,
Right.
or anything like that. And it could be for different things. Like, I know you enjoy music very much, and music is very important to you. And I've heard
Very therapeutic.
yeah, and so it's like, well, as a daily routine, I enjoy listening to music because it helps my heart, it helps my mind, it helps how I feel.
Right, it like centers you and
Yeah.
connects you to what you're doing and why you're doing it, and have that feeling behind it, that
Mhm.
motivation.
And that's how I feel with these conversations about fear and procrastination. It helps, even if you don't go in depth, even if you, or whatever it is, talking about it lifts that bit because you're talking it out. Even
Right.
if you're still like, I don't know how to feel about it, letting pieces of it out, or writing about it, or listening about it, or whatever it is, it really helps a lot.
Yeah, instead of just penting it up. Because we seem to not make good choices when we are pent up.
Mm-hmm.
Like we just procrastinate, and we don't seem to make result driven choices. Like,
Yeah.
when we're that way, and that fear builds, and that insecurity and all the things
Yeah.
that come with it. And it's like, so I agree, it's like a balloon that's just like it's just gonna pop.
Yeah.
And so if you have the regular talks, it's like, it's not there's something wrong with you, there's
Yeah.
there's not a problem. It's like, that's life, because unless you're gonna live in a box, life is
Yeah.
constantly changing and moving, and you're interacting with different things and different emotions, and it's like you have to have that way of talking or voicing it or working through it
Mm-hmm.
until it's not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, so if you have people to talk to, and modality or therapeutic ways of doing stuff that help you deal with it, I think that absolutely. And I think like having someone to talk to, your church or community, is huge in that.
Yeah. And it's so important because growing up too, we had a lot of these type of talks, but they're on somewhat more, not surface level, but more
Immature.
kid type of things. Like, well, why did you do this, or why is this making you feel like this? And in having those talks growing up, it's helped myself. And I've mentioned it before, like with the Walking Dead stuff. And I was like, they're watching my show though. It's my show. And then I remember standing in the kitchen. I was like, well, why do I feel like this? And I was like, because I'm the one watching Walking Dead.
Yeah.
And then I was like, but it's a show to the public.
Right,
You know?
yeah. You are not in possession of said show.
Yeah, and it's like you can enjoy the show. You can say, I love the show. I'm, a Walking Dead enthusiast. But at the same time, it's open to the public. And it's like, and people are allowed to watch it all the time. And
Yeah.
I know you guys weren't watching it like, we're gonna watch it to stab at Jovian.
Yeah.
No, but they're wanting to watch Walking Dead. And
But
that's
something in you had this fear and insecurity of.
And every time I just remember talks I've had with you and be like, well, why does Coker make you feel like this?
Right.
Or why did this? Or things that can help with myself that now independently I can do it in my own time or in my own brain or in the moment.
Right.
That independently it can help, and then talking with you at the same time reassures or helps like clear it up even more.
Right. It allows you to feel like, oh, okay, that's okay that I feel that way. Like, even though, because it can take time. Like, I've just gotten in the last handful of years where I can own and be like, it's okay, I feel the way I feel. Now, am I going to let that direct every single choice I make? Like, well, and you've seen me, like, in the last 2 or 3 years, I've had some times, especially, where, I mean, the horns came out and I felt rage. I was literally like, I think I'm gonna pop. But then I had to find that reason, and then find that place and understand myself and get to a spot. But so much of that was being able to talk and communicate and share with people, y'all, especially, and just being able to be myself and let go of that fear of having to be perfect or thinking like I gotta know all the answers, like really stepping back into that of place of myself of being like, well, this is the first time I've ever been to this spot in my life too, just like you, to where it's like, oh shit, it's made it so much more relatable for me with y'all. And then I can see that even with y'all being little, like as you grow, that's the way that I can grow and move with you versus us moving apart from childhood to adulthood, is me embracing that I'm on the same journey you're on. And it's not like you get to a certain age and it's like, well, you figure it out now, it's your gig. It's like, no, I mean, we're here to do this together. And so I think it's super important.
And I think talking about it, I feel like the majority or a vast amount of people aren't used to talking about things. Like their feelings.
I think people set their feelings aside so much.
And
then they're directing them instead of voicing them and talking about it and then making choices.
And that's where the fear and procrastination comes back in, because they're feared of being vulnerable. Or they're feared of being this, or crying or whatever, because that's a big one for me is crying. I very much fear crying, and it's not that I don't feel comfortable crying, it's the fact of I just don't.
It's the whole package.
It's the whole thing. And so it's
I was that way when I was young, and the same thing, like the well, what do I look like? And I was told growing up, like, crying was like a baby, a wimp thing to do, like we were raised, don't you cry, like don't. And now I'm like, cry, oh my goodness, just cry, you feel so much better, and I know sometimes, like, I have those feelings and I'm like, I know if I just go ahead and have a good old cry, I'm gonna feel better. And it's like, oh well, that's, and so it's like there's so much wrapped up in our feelings and keeping them pent up because of what we think or how other people have impressioned on us, the way society is, that so I think so much of that, and then that ultimately causes us to be like ruled by those feelings versus the discussion of and the reasoning and the understanding. And then we blow those up into so many other things. Like, we have something that we feel, and instead of being able to share it with somebody, like, hey, I don't know if that's how you meant to be towards me, but man, I feel really hurt by what you said, or I feel really angry, or I feel, or whatever. And it's like, I think so too, that, but the more we can work through them and talk about them, the less they're there, because that's helped me. And you guys have seen how much I've been just, instead of trying to keep them all pent up, I've been able to let them out and work through it. And and I've seen the same thing with you guys. I mean, especially with the transition of our life up here.
Yeah, definitely.
There's been tons of that.
Yeah, I've felt that very much, and that's why I appreciate. Because fear and procrastination can be good. It can be good for you, but at the same time, it can also be negative. And I feel like having fear, especially moving up here, has helped me up level so much more in my life. Like, fear of expressing how I feel to, dad, or expressing how I feel about this, or fear of just doing things has really helped me, though, keep going. Not like fear's holding me back and anything, but having the fear and then having...
Like a fear of if you don't keep going. Like what might happen if you don't? Is that what you mean?
I mean, like, it's so difficult to explain. Like, fear as in, I fear this, but having to overcome it, having to go through it has helped so much with myself.
Oh, yeah. So being afraid of something but having to walk through it anyway
Yeah.
has helped you, like, up
Yeah.
level. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Like, it gives you confidence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I totally agree that when you're afraid of something and then you walk through that fear and you, like, in procrastination, you stop procrastinating. You're like, damn, I mean, look what I did. I went after that. I stopped finding excuses or whatever. And I can totally see what you're saying if you let go of that fear.
Yeah.
And other things, it literally, it builds confidence in you because you're like, man, I was so afraid of that, or I was so scared, and then I jumped in and did it.
Yeah.
And so it helps raise your confidence level so much.
Yeah. And if you were able, which I doubt a lot of people are able to do because it's the human way. I feel like if you were unable to fear or procrastinate, it would be great. But I think having to fear and procrastinate just takes you so much further because then it helps you stop and think.
Yeah,
so
it gives you appreciation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, even if it held you back at a moment, or even if you're like, well, hold on, let me think about this, it can help you open insight into that, and then it can help you open insight to love or this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I can see that, like, even with, like, on a big scale with your dad and I, as far as being married.
Mm-hmm.
I can see where there's so many times where, like, we came to a hurdle or came to something in our relationship, and because of my fear of not being with him, like being without him, a fear of being without him, or a fear of something else that was like, okay, you know, I'll just keep working on this thing. And I'm so appreciative now of all the things I've learned over time by being afraid by being afraid to take a step. It's like it's actually helped me at times instead of just jumping in there. It was like, oh, my fear helped me a little bit and helped me procrastinate. So it's kind of funny how there's seems to be a yin and a yang in almost everything, towards like, yeah, fear is bad, but fear can be good. I mean, it can give you that moment, like when you're in your feelings of being scared or rageful or whatever. Your ultimate fear keeps you from jumping off the ledge. You know, instead of taking the leap, because the leap can be good, jumping off the ledge is down. It's not like a leap, you know. And so it's like, I totally agree with you, where it's like there's that other side of it where it can be the negative, or I mean, it can be the saving grace. Like, hey, if you hadn't been afraid, imagine that could have been a nightmare that you got yourself into, way worse than the situation you might be in. And I've learned a lot over the years from that very thing, just being afraid to do the next thing. And it's allowed me to see things clear, or give time for contemplation, or you know. And so I totally agree with you. I totally agree. Dude, we've been talking a long time. Like, how long have we been talking? I wish stuff would start popping up on here. We got a slow connection. I don't know. But anyway, it won't give us anything. But how long have we been talking?
Let's see.
My bedtime's crouching in. My eyeballs are getting heavy.
I would say about 40 minutes.
Oh, nice. Yeah, the fire's dying down. I gotta stoke the fire. So, let's see here. What now should we do on our little chit chat? Since this is our first little gig together, I want to know what other people think about fear and procrastination.
Ooh.
As much as we've been talking about it, right? I want to know what other people think. What do you guys think about fear and procrastination?
And that could be another thing, fear of sharing how you feel about fear.
Oh, yeah, there's a good one. Sharing how you feel about fear. That's a lot of F's in there. And I don't have a problem with the F's. I mean, obviously. But let's see. Yeah, that's a good one, because I think people hold back from sharing all the time on anything.
Mm-hmm.
They hold back from sharing on what they think about their feelings. Like we were talking, they hold back from all kinds of things, but a big one would be, I would definitely say people fear sharing what they're afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
And if you confront people with what you can see they're afraid of, it's offensive to them. They don't like it. They get scared.
Yep.
When you're like, oh, I see into what you're afraid of. I got you. I understand that. I think people get scared even further. They're more afraid.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's intimidating or triggering. A lot of people can get triggered when you can see what they're afraid of.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, you're only doing what you're doing because you're afraid.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, how dare you?
Fear of how people may perceive you.
Yeah, how you're perceived, how you're understood, what your value.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think that'd be a good one if people would share what they think about fear and procrastination. I'm thinking about bedtime. What time is it anyway?
It's like 9:20.
Oh, no wonder.
9:18.
No wonder. See?
It would be 8:18, but since the time changed.
Yeah. People tell me that all the time. I'm like, my body doesn't know about time changes. It knows about, isn't it about bedtime?
Yeah.
But yeah, no. This is fun.
I know.
Super fun. We'll have to bring our coffees and teas.
I was going to make some tea, but then I was like,
Let's get with this. Mom's going to turn into a pumpkin.
Nah. I just didn't want to keep you waiting.
No, well, I appreciate that because, for real, I start getting like... So, yeah.
I'm like, Mom.
About fear and procrastination, so,
And I'm just talking over here and you just start snoring.
Right. So, yeah. But, no, I'm glad we had this talk. And I think we should do some more. We'll have to download and edit this video and make it really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Or just keep it the way it is, because it's already really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
It's funny, because I forgot when it was, but it was tonight, before we did this, I even was fearing in myself. I was like, I don't want to, that I'm going to put on some persona or a facade, but I was fearing a little bit of doing this.
Like the anxiety of being recorded, or
not so much recorded, since I've made videos before. It's just I know that this is something that is very important to you, and it's very important to me as well. So I don't want to be kind of like a hermit crab.
Aw, you're so sweet.
I don't want to be like a hermit crab, or like, I don't know.
Just
how to
you
explain
being willing to show up and you wanting to talk about it, and you like pushing me like, come on, Mom, let's have that. I want to be. Just you wanting to be like in the conversation.
Yeah.
Is like, wow. I mean, you could sit there like a hermit crab, and I would be even like, wow, she still wanted to show up.
Yeah. Yeah. I was a little like bit of me was a little nervous and procrastinating. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not sure. I've never done this before, and we've been talking about this for years now. We're finally doing it. Like, I'm a little nervous and fear, like I could feel it in me. But then I was like, well, I want to do this. The plus side of it is so much greater. And even if I was a hermit crab, it's progression.
And it's always, and it's just the fear of like, oh, well, what if I don't have that thing set up? Or what if I forgot that thing?
Yeah.
Or what if, or I'm going to have to, or it's just so many levels of procrastination that it's like, you want me to hold it?
No,
you held it for a while. We need to get a little stand. We'll have to get a bigger mic, a bigger spot for a little mic.
We need two of them.
So we can talk around close to the mic.
ASMR.
Yeah, and then we have a mic drop.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just like making it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Procrastination. And now, I mean, and that's crazy. I mean, how many videos do I have of recording? Like 1,000 videos recorded or something? I have like hundreds of videos uploaded, and it's like, and you can't just sit down and have one conversation? It's like, we have hundreds of conversations all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all the time we're having conversations.
Yes.
And what's so hard about doing this? And it's like, oh, just both because everything else is so spontaneous. It's that, I think it's just that planned out thing that is hard for us sometimes.
Yeah.
Because we do have a very free, spontaneous, non-spontaneous. I mean, we just have our own gig, so we're just kind of like, oh, I mean, it's like our own thing. So
Yeah.
adding that new thing sometimes and pulling more than one person together and then eliminating the dogs making noise and having internet connection and it's like sometimes to make sure all those things come together, I think you're just like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is fun, and so I think now it'll be easier to do.
I definitely want to be a guest from now on. I would love that.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, so see,
100%.
we'll just have to keep doing it because I think it's fun to have conversations with other people about topics that are intriguing to myself, which I know other people it's interesting too and helpful and useful, especially parents and their kids are like, oh shit, I never thought about talking about that with my kid. Maybe we should talk about that.
Yeah.
Or maybe our laxness with each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like our easygoingness.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you don't see that with adults and kids, and
yeah,
and that can help somebody, you know, break the ice of conversation with their own kid or their own parent or whichever way it's going to go. So yeah, I think this will be fun, and we just have to continue.
And it's also the relatability, because how we were talking about fear and procrastination, and then I was like, and to add into the mix, I was nervous to do even this, and now look at the outcome. Yeah, I already knew I was gonna love it because, like I mentioned,
you love it. We're having great conversation.
Yeah, but I was like, I don't know. I was like, oh my god.
You're like, oh my god, I told mom, and oh my god.
Yeah, like I said, not like I'm gonna put a facade on. It's just doing it. I know it is so important, and I just didn't want to be like, well, I have this guest on the show, and she's kind of nervous, so
nah. That's why I say we just gotta be us, and we're like, you know, we're always goofing off and messing around, and so if we're just keep that, I think that's the thing that holds us back all the time is like, again, comparison and seeing the whole world do stuff, and you're like, wow, the way they do a podcast or the way they do, and it's like, yeah, I don't really like doing the way they do with practically anything. And I've been my whole life, everybody's like, well, Cheryl, you can't do it like that, and it's like, yes I can, I just did. And so it's like, well, that's just, I mean, I feel like that's what this should be. You know, so we don't have to have any, I mean, you want some popcorn?
No, it has that yeast on it.
So see,
nah, I'm good.
You sure?
Yeah, I know. Maybe like a bottom piece, but
a bottom piece,
like under here, because that yeast on it is good. But you even
she doesn't like the yeasty popcorn.
Nuh-uh.
I don't know if anybody does that, but I put nutritional yeast on my popcorn because it's delicious, and the kids think it's nasty.
I like it, and I don't. I like it here and there, but all over.
It's so good. It's so good. If you've never put nutritional yeast on your popcorn, sprinkle it on there. Heavy. Like a thick, heavy dusting. What does it say? I can't see anything. We're going to have to go back and read comments. Yeah. I guess we could pull the thing closer to us, but then I don't know how we get both of us in there. So, yeah. Well, maybe we should, for this first time, just wrap it up so I don't turn into a pumpkin.
A pumpkin.
And my fire's dying. I gotta stoke the fire. I'm gonna stoke up the fire because I'll get cold.
You have something on your eye.
It's probably ash from blowing on the fire to get it going earlier. You know, I get up in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably what it is. So yeah, this is Jovian.
Hello.
We'll be having more of these conversations. If you want to see some of our other videos. Oh yeah, my sponsors. This is one of my sponsors. They remind you to check out our other platforms. YouTube, there's some shenanigans on there you can follow. This group.
Instagram.
There's a lot. Well, you know. What else? You know. TikTok. If you want to see some crazy, go get on TikTok. Oh shit! We gotta sign. The battery's dying, so we have to go. It said 13% battery.
Mine runs on like 5% all the day, all day long. I'm like, it's 4%. That's good enough.
Oh shit! Mine will be gone in no time. It's probably those hundreds of apps. But anyway, yeah. So for real, check out our other videos. We got lots of videos of our village life here and our journey of getting here. You can check out our website if you'd like to. We have lots of things available on our website.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of conversations. Lots more conversations. Mostly me with myself. And what else? We have products. Our products, some of them are right here that we're very passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
I was out hitting the streets today. Marketing my products. Our new coffee line is launching. You know you want some coffee, and you can join us for our coffee chats on a cup of wait, what's our slogan? What's our slogan? I'm
blanking.
It's getting late. I'm forgetting. Changing your mind a cup at a time. That's what the slogan is. Yeah.
Woo.
I'm tired, so I'm forgetting stuff. But yeah, check out our coffee. My oil line. If you want all over body oil, 100%. You could eat this oil. You could cook with this oil. You could do all sorts of stuff with this oil. Ha ha ha. Isn't it so pretty? I mean, everything with this oil, if you know what I mean. I'm just saying. So, you can cook with it. You can rub it on your body. You can, put it on your dry feet. So yeah.
My hands.
Her hands. She has dry hands. I have dry feet. So yeah. But anyways, this is Jovianne. I'm Cheryl. Check out our website. All of our products are on there.
Mm-hmm.
Stay tuned for future conversations.
Which I'm very intrigued for.
Yeah, I'm so excited. You want to do this with me.
I'm so happy. It's like a dream I've been having for so long.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm so glad. That is so awesome. I'm so excited when people are excited about what I like to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Well, that's cool. So, we'll be having more conversations. And, but we gotta go because I gotta stoke my fire. And our connection is slow because the gamers are in there gaming away, eating up all of our internets. So, I mean, they are. I'm not hating on them, but they're stealing our internets. So, peace, love, see ya. Okay, bye.